Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please welcome one of the great stars of stage, screen, and books, Miss Shirley MacLaine.
Thank you so very much. It's wonderful to look around and see so many familiar faces from recent history. And also from my past lives. I flew in from New York this afternoon. I was on my book tour, and I was on the plane. I found myself sitting next to what turned out to be a very nice gentleman. He was about 65. He was a computer expert. He had several grandchildren. And he asked me where I was going. And I said I was coming to speak at the AIDS benefit dinner in Los Angeles. So he said, oh, what are you going to say? So I said, I don't know, I'm the serious one. They want me to say something serious but uplifting. Because it's a celebration of life. So I said, what do you think this AIDS thing is all about? And this man said, well, I don't think it's about the wrath of God or anything like that. He said, I don't think it is an exclusively homosexual disease. But he said, I'm very afraid. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, I'm just afraid. I don't trust the medical community when they tell me that it's very difficult to contract this disease. He said, I would rather be afraid than trust doctors. So I said, well, are you telling me that you don't think that we human beings have a choice about whether to be afraid or not? He said, no, I have to tell you that we humans, in my opinion, are animals, and that there's no sort of reference point whereby we can choose whether to know fear. We are animals when we're afraid. So I thought about his point of view all the way across the country. And I thought about what it really means to have an epidemic of panic. What a plague mentality says. Where we actually recoil from our friends, where the simplest, most loving interchange of human affection is suspect, where when we're afraid inside, we are capable of the most dark-spirited bigotry. And then I thought to myself, this disease is telling us something. This disease is telling us that we really should look inside our own selves, search our own souls as to what we feel about fear, about prejudice, about bigotry, about affection, about sex, about love, about tenderness, and death. That if we really looked inside to our own nobility, to our grander selves, that we would like what we saw if we weren't afraid. I don't think that this is a moment in history that's about only federal aid for more research or about examining responsible sexual lifestyles. I don't think it's only about that right now or why we're here tonight. I think it's also about the truth that our exterior reality begins with interior recognition. You know, maybe there are only basically two emotions in the human experience. Maybe those two emotions are love and fear. And from those two emotions, every other emotion stems. So we have to look at ourselves, it seems to me, and decide what we think about fear. We're so used to defining ourselves by our limitations. We're so used to identifying who we are by what we're afraid of. We're so used to feeling that we are potential victims of the world we see instead of potential victims of the way we see the world. So we have to, at this moment, right here in Hollywood, decide if we are going to be governed by fear or not. He said socket. He said socket. I heard you. So I think he said socket. So since we're in charge of our own reality, I found for myself that acknowledging the love within me enables me to dispel fear. If I go back to my lamp within, so to speak, my eternal spark, fear dissolves. Each of us has to make our own mind up about how we're going to deal with fear. And how we behave at this moment, we're going to remember for the rest of our lives, long after this disease is past. If suspicion and fear is allowed to triumph, it is liable to tear apart the very fabric of this lovingly democratic society. And the ravages of AIDS will be secondary to the damage we inflict on ourselves. For me, this disease is very aptly named. I consider this disease a great teacher because it aids us in knowing ourselves and our fellow man in a much more loving way. Thank you.